Brody, let's talk about a big pay-per-view, AEW, with the strong finish of 2025, AEW Worlds End. What's some of the fallout from that, Brody?
Absolutely. AEW Worlds End happened December 27th, 2025. It was in the Now Arena up in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. That is the Chicago area. And, of course, a lot has happened here. And, of course, the Continental Classic took place, and we had two matches to kick off the show. Kazuchika Okada defeated his fellow Don Callis family member, Konosuke Takeshita. Okada, obviously, these are semifinal matches. And then Jon Moxley defeated Kyle Fletcher, and ultimately would lead to them going to the match later that night where they would face off against each other. Both of these matches, obviously Fletcher and Takeshita had to take the fall here, but both of them really were more designed as matches to kind of prompt up, and maybe I could see both of these guys having matches with each other down the road, and these matches were just kind of setup matches for the match later in the night. So you can't really judge this from the standpoint of, well, were these great matches or were these not? They were matches intended to set up for the Continental Classic final for the AEW Continental Championship later that night. And I think it was very well done. And of course, for the AEW World Tag Team Championship, we had a Chicago street fight. FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler retained. They defeated Juice Robinson and Austin Gunn. No surprises here. FTR retaining the Tag Team Championships. There was not going to be a title change here. It was a Chicago street fight. You don't normally see FTR in a match with no rules. So it had a lot of elements in there, obviously involving Stokely Hathaway, establishing them as heels. But they did a fairly good job here, and FTR obviously retains. Going into the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship match, the Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale retain, defeating Mercedes Moné and Athena. Moné does not capture this belt for the AEW Women's Tag Team Championship here, unfortunately for Moné. However, Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale stay strong. And then you've got a match here, Darby Allin, Gabe Kidd singles match. This is a normal singles match. You know, they had rules, and Darby Allin defeated Gabe Kidd. It was a nice win for Darby Allin here on the pay-per-view. Don't really know why Gabe Kidd had to take the fall here. I don't, maybe it's a star you elevate, maybe not, but certainly he played a role here in this pay-per-view. It was a kind of a fairly shorter match in order to get Darby Allin a win on pay-per-view. I don't blame Tony Khan for that. And of course, this Mixed Nuts Mayhem match that featured Tony Storm, Broderick Strong, and the conglomeration of Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy in a babyface tag team match defeated the Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, and Marina Shafir. Nice to see the babyfaces get a win here. An odd combination of wrestlers here. Really an interesting match. I guess it was to insert Storm on the pay-per-view here. There was no really rhyme or reason why she was really tagging with Strong, Cassidy, and Briscoe. Shafir and Storm haven't really been feuding, so it kind of really didn't make sense here, but I guess, you need your biggest female star here on the pay-per-view, insert her in this Mixed Nuts Mayhem match, and that's kind of what you get now. For the AEW Women's World Championship, we had Chris Statlander defeated Jamie Hayter, and I kind of figured Chris Statlander would retain. She's only held the belt for a couple of months, but Statlander retaining here. Did not think a title would change hands, and it certainly did not, as Chris Statlander defeated Jamie Hayter. I thought this was a fairly good match. Really, I've always been a big fan of Jamie Hayter's. Really an underrated wrestler. I've always been high on Jamie Hayter, and of course Chris Statlander, another one that's been underutilized and is finally going on a world championship run that I figured she would go on, obviously. And of course, this is the meat of the matter, what we're going to talk about here. Jon Moxley defeated Kazuchika Okada for the Continental Championship, the AEW Continental Championship, and the final of the Continental Classic. Jon Moxley has another belt. He's the new AEW Continental Champion, and of course, positioned all throughout the night here. Jon Moxley positioned as a babyface in the fans' eyes, going up against members of the Don Callis family, starting off the night with Kyle Fletcher, and then he was going after Kazuchika Okada. It was interesting, and then after the match, Jon Moxley, he kind of just, groveled and was breathing heavily and giving a more incoherent promo that nobody could really understand, but the fans were kind of behind him because they positioned this in an interesting way. Death Riders versus Don Callis family, the two top heel groups in all of AEW, really going after each other. I don't know. I guess the Death Riders were baby faces because I guess the Don Callis family is more heat. I don't get it, but that's kind of what happened here. And, Moxley winning the belt, eventually, we know the Death Riders are going to be like the Hyenas. They're going to go after Scar, and maybe Moxley drops the belt to one of, the members of the Death Riders, trying to elevate them, maybe dropping the belt to Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta. But, that's kind of where you're going here. Moxley, has the belt. He drops the belt to one of the members of the Death Riders that turn on him. I think Moxley will become a babyface this year. And all of that being said, I really thought that overall with this pay-per-view, a lot of things have happened, a lot of big wins for a lot of wrestlers here, and really, some significant title changes for AEW really going into 2026, establishing who our big stars are. And I really thought that this was an impressive showing on a lot of wrestlers' parts here. Wow. And I don't know where Moxley will be this, will he be a babyface in 2026? But it's interesting. What are your thoughts, Jeremy, on the two heel groups of the Death Riders and the Don Callis family here on pay-per-view going after each other?
Well, I'm going to do a reversal on you and say that, it's no secret. You're working stiff, brother, when it comes to AEW. It's great that the work rate of this pay-per-view seems 5-star classics right and left. But let me ask you, what is going on with the Jon Moxley babyface turn? Is he just around so much that, to your point, maybe, hey, we like him better than, the Callis family group? Or why is Moxley a babyface now?
I think what it is, what it is that it was in this particular situation where he's positioned as a babyface, because I think the Don Callis family is more heat, and I think that the fans legitimately don't like Okada and don't like the work that he's done in AEW so far, so he's more positioned as a more hot heel. And I think with Moxley, he's been such a mainstay in AEW that the fans have gotten so used to him that if you're battling against, we have to pick the lesser of the two evils. So if we're going to pick the lesser of the two evils, why not pick Moxley to be the lesser of the two evils? And I think the fans see the writing on the wall that Moxley winning the AEW Continental Championship, it's only a matter of time before those Death Rider members turn into hyenas and just go after their leader and attack him. And, that's the feud that Moxley's going to have going into 2026.
I like your Lion King analogy. And in another dimension, well, specifically Japan, this time of year is Wrestle Kingdom. I've talked about it a little bit on the show. Flying Right, do you watch any of this Japanese New Japan wrestling at all? It's some fun stuff.
I need to tap in a little bit more. I'm more of a highlight watcher.
Yeah, sure.
New Japan.
You can get the Instagram stuff. But, it goes on at literally 11 p.m. tonight, and it's kind of fun. The hardcores stay up super late. Sarah and I are going to be watching it, Sunday morning there. But you want to talk about the pageantry of the Tokyo Dome. So what's happening there when, Brody, you're talking about Okada, he's getting ready to go over there and fight, Tanahashi, who's kind of
it's going to be Hiroshi Tanahashi's retirement match. That's right. Jeremy's talking about this Wrestle Kingdom 20. Yeah. It's going to be January 4th, 2026. Tomorrow, get up early in the morning if you want to and watch it. It is in the Tokyo Dome. He's spot on here. The upcoming match, we're going to preview it right here. Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada in the main event. This is Tanahashi's retirement match, and there's going to be a winner-take-all match for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship and the IWGP Global World Heavyweight Championship. Is going to be Konosuke Takeshita, who has the world title, being accompanied by Rocky Romero, another member of the Don Callis family, going up against Yota Tsuchi, who holds the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Of course, more tie-ins here for the Never Open Weight Championship. You have Evil, who is the champion, will be defending against Aaron Wolf, and of course, a four-way match to determine the number one contender for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. You have El Desperado, Kosuke Fujinama, Tashi Ishimori, and versus Sho. Sorry if I mispronounced some of those names. It's hard for me.
Did really good.
Yeah, and of course, the 10-man tag team match. You have the Bullet Club War Dogs. I can't believe the Bullet Club's still around. David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, and Drilla Maloney against the unaffiliated Shingo Takai and Hiromu Takakashi.
Wow.
With Gato, who is the booker of New Japan Pro Wrestling, for those who don't know, going up against the United Empire of Andrade El Idolo, that is Andrade from WWE, Great O'Khan, Henniher, and of course, Callum Newman. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out there. And of course, the winner-takes-all match for the IWGP Women's Championship. It is going to be Saya, Takakami versus Shiori for the IWGP Women's Championship and the Strong Women's Championship, and of course the Rambo for the Never Open Weight Six-Man Tag Team Championship. Yeah, Toro, Yano, Spear Tech, which includes Master Wato and Yo, versus Tiger Mask, which I don't know which Tiger Mask this is, but it's been a lot of them. Togi Makakabi, Raskubi, whatever.
I wouldn't even attempt to go down the line here, but you have done quite well. Don't ruin the record there. Do you know much about this Aaron Wolf guy? He's an Olympic athlete?
Yes.
What's the big deal? This is like a big deal over there. This thing's sold out.
Aaron Wolf he won an Olympic gold medal for Tokyo in the Olympic Games, I believe in judo. I believe he won the Olympic Olympic gold medal in judo. So he won Olympic gold medal in 2020 in judo, and he is a big deal. They're trying to push this guy to the moon over there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a big deal.
It is a sold out 50,000 in the Tokyo Dome, and I guess it's going to be on broadcast TV over there, but a lot of fun, and you see sort of future stars that AEW would pick up in a couple years. You want to talk about folks like Nakamura, where AJ Styles really, redefined himself. It was New Japan Wrestling, but we have so much to talk about. Do you want to get into MJF now or after the break?
We're going to get to that after the break, but we're going to talk about, I just want to talk about it for a second because you bring up Hiroshi Tanahashi, how great he has been for New Japan Pro Wrestling. For those who don't know, he's the president there, he's a director of the promotion, he's an active wrestler, and just Hiroshi Tanahashi has been one of the biggest stars in Japanese wrestling for a very long time. Never took his talents much over to the States, though fans in the United States know who Hiroshi Tanahashi is. He's wrestled in the United States multiple times. He's wrestled in AEW multiple times. For those who don't know, Hiroshi Tanahashi is one of the biggest stars in Japan for the last several years. He has remained loyal to New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is their John Cena. Yeah, he's their John Cena. He's been their mainstay and their staple, and really losing him. I mean, New Japan Pro Wrestling and really Stardom and a lot of the promotions over there, they've lost a lot of their big stars to the States. Julia is no longer there. Kazuchika Okada is no longer there. Takeshita's not there anymore. So they're really losing a lot of their stars, and New Japan Pro Wrestling and Gato are going to have to hit the reset button and really push new stars like Aaron Wolf, and Aaron Wolf is one of those examples, but they're going to have new stars going to have to push. The Bullet Club War Dogs still kind of, I can't believe the Bullet Club is still around. They're a group that's been around a really, really long time, and now they're in a new iteration. It's kind of like their version of the New World Order. And it's really interesting how, and they've had a partnership with AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW, and CMLL have had a strategic partnership together, and it's very interesting to see how it works. I'm very curious of where they go from here, and where New Japan Pro Wrestling, because the wrestling world, what does WWE look like without John Cena? What does New Japan Pro Wrestling look like without Hiroshi Tanahashi? Yeah,
it's going to be a major sea change. We're going to get to that after the break. We're going to get into MJF. We're going to get into Stranger Things in Raw. We're going to get into the Royal Rumble, and I want Brody to book WrestleMania when we come back. But first, we're going to talk about one of our favorite wrestlers, MJF, and this winding road back to the title here on Wrestling on the Spectrum. We'll see you on the other side for more wrestling predictions and WrestleMania predictions indeed. From Brody the Brain Herman, Flying Rhyme, we'll be back. So before the break, we were talking about into AEW's Worlds End pay-per-view and the results there. What a winding road it's been since Hangman Adam Page was crowned in Texas. Then we got the belt over to Samoa Joe, and now it's back on our boy, who we think is a generational talent, because he'll tell you himself.
He is, so yes, he will.
MJF. Brody, break it down for me. What happened in this fatal four-way, the main event? Yes, it was
a fatal four-way match. There were no rules, no disqualification, no countouts, so the Ops obviously had their fair share of interference here. MJF defeated Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, and Hangman Adam Page in a fatal four-way match, as I've said, and he became the AEW World Heavyweight Champion for the second time. He was avenging the loss to Samoa Joe that he had 2 years ago at AEW Worlds End, and this was MJF's Casino Gauntlet guaranteed contract cash-in match. So finally, AEW has made their Casino Gauntlet guaranteed contract actually means something. MJF wins the AEW World Heavyweight Championship going into 2026. This is nothing but a positive to me, because then they could build this up for MJF to be the one to lose to Will Ospreay in Wembley Stadium, for that to be the main event in Wembley in 2026. I'm looking forward to that when Ospreay returns, and then these guys are going to be in a feud. I think MJF will be your champion at least for a lot of the first half of 2026. I like this move a lot to put the belt on MJF. I'm very excited about this, and I think we could have a great 2026 for AEW, better than 2025 because of MJF winning the AEW World Heavyweight Championship.